Join me to share my short and true story with you. The suitcases fell over the passengers' heads and were thrown into the aisle of the plane. The plane shakes violently. From the window next to me, I saw sparks of light that surrounded my plane more and more every moment. I held my mother's hands, we closed our eyes, without saying a word. Amid the cries and screams of the passengers, all I could do was stare at my mother's frightened face. This is my short story. We were falling. The plane was collapsing somewhere between heaven and earth. The right wing was detached. I held my mother's hands as tightly as I could, but that was not enough as our row seats were pulled out of the plane. I was still attached to my chair, but my mother was detached from her chair. As the sound of the plane and the screams of the people faded away from me, all I could see were raindrops and clumps of trees. I fell to the ground from a height of 9,800 feet. My short story got to the point that I was unconscious for about 24 hours. When I woke up I thought I must have died, but I was alive. I opened my eyes, I did not see anyone, there was no sound. I shouted and asked for help, I called my mother, but the forest fell silent. I missed my body. I felt severe pain in my arms and legs. I had fallen from a height of about 3.5 times the height of the Burj Khalifa, the tallest building in the world. But I only had deep sores on my arms and legs, with a swollen eye and a minor fracture in my chest. It has been strange for me to survive to this day. I wandered for a whole day, with one eye to see and a pair of shoes, trying to figure out if there was an object or snake in my path. For a few moments I felt that I was not alone. But as I got closer, I noticed that their feet were towards the sky, and they fell with their heads on the ground. I was shocked and stared at their bodies when I realized that one of them was a woman. I thought maybe it was my mother, but when I looked closer I realized that she had varnished her toenails. My mother never varnishes her nails. I was happy, but I was soon embarrassed by my reaction. After 4 days tired of insomnia and insects biting during the night, I pulled myself to the river. I found a bag of candy to eat, but it ran out soon. The sound of a rescue helicopter flying around bothered me because they could not find me, and I became even more frustrated. I felt lonely and scared. I thought to myself that if I died it would be much better than enduring stress and physical and mental pain. I would crawl along the river for days, floating in the water, wishing it was time for death or salvation. But there was no news for 10 days, until I noticed a boat by the river. I thought I was dreaming, but no, I could not touch it, it was a real boat. I stood and looked for the owner of the boat. I did not find anyone, but I did find a small path to a hut with a palm leaf roof. Now I at least had a shelter. When night fell, I felt something move on my arm. I knew what it was, but I did not want to believe it. I looked at my arm and saw the worms crawling around my wound. A fly was laying eggs inside my wound. My arm was infected and the worms were feeding on my flesh. My eye fell on a can of gasoline that belonged to the boat. I remembered that once Segman had such an infection and my father disinfected it with oil. Even though I still did not know if I would survive or not, I was afraid of losing my hand. I took out some gasoline and poured a coin on my wound. I felt severe pain and bit my t-shirt tightly. Some of the worms fell out, but some of them went deeper into the meat. I had to pull out about 30 creams. I was proud of myself at that moment. Some were still alive, but at least the infection was somewhat sterilized. The next morning I woke up to the sound of people. It was like hearing the voices of angels. When they saw me, they were shocked and quickly came to me to check on my condition. For a moment they thought I was a mermaid, a mythical creature who is a combination of a dolphin and a white blonde woman. I introduced myself in Spanish and described what had happened to me. The plane, the storm, and how I got there. They had heard something about the plane crash. They prepared food for me and healed my wounds. The next day I was taken to the city and immediately airlifted to the hospital. My father was waiting for me there. We didn't say anything together, we just hugged each other tightly. You are witnessing my short and true story. The doctors diagnosed that I had a torn cruciate ligament, a damaged neck vertebra, a broken leg, several blows to my arms and legs, and a swollen eye due to a ruptured capillary. At age 17, I spent 11 days alone in the Amazon jungle, and out of 91 people on the lands of 508, I was the only one left. I later found out that my mother also survived the plane crash, but could not move due to severe injuries and died a few days later amid fear and pain. I cannot imagine what happened to her. What is very sad is that she was one of the 14 people who survived the accident, but all died waiting for rescue. Julia Kopec is known as the Miracle Girl of Peru. Someone who survived a plane crash by good luck and first aid, but most of all by his strong will.